It's the Hearthstone Global Games Week 3, and we are moving on. We have just seen Romania get completely dominated by Denmark, and now we're going to move to the other side of the bracket. It's going to be Czech Republic up against Greece. Lorinda, it's nice to talk to you again. I've missed you. I missed you last week.
Yeah, it was unusual not to have you alongside me, or whatever the equivalent is on here. I'd point at you, but I always get it the wrong way, so I won't even try to do that.
Instead, you had someone that actually knows what they're talking about.
I know, it was very unusual indeed. It scared me crazy.
Anyway, yeah. Czech Republic
and Greece. Czech Republic have lost their Quest Shaman, their Druid, and Czech Republic won't be very happy with this one. They've brought N'Zoth Warrior, N'Zoth Rogue, and their Druid, and they're kind of targeting Warrior, right?
Yeah, super interesting lineup. And again, you mentioned the N'Zoth Rogue. I'm sure we'll be seeing that a little bit later, much to our chagrin. But I have, in preparation for that, we have had a bit of a chat with Galen, who has valiantly helped us out a little bit with some information on that deck. So if it comes up, we will be relying on his words to help out with that.
Yeah, I mean, I made my views perfectly clear on that deck last week. That it's great against Warrior, otherwise don't ever touch the stupid deck. So they are playing from something about the Czech Republic team. It's Faili and Yala against Fino and Hawkeye. Faili recently became the Czech national champion.
Wow.
Yala was the national champion of the year before. So Faili's well and truly back into the groove. I think he took a bit of time off this year, on and off, because last year he put a lot of work in, narrowly missed out on GM. Hit him a little bit hard, I think, but he is back and doing good things with Hearthstone.
He is indeed, yeah. Well, obviously, we saw him with the Masters, not Masters Tours, the other one, Tour Stops. Yeah, that's it, Tour Stops. Last year, doing some amazing things. And yeah, I mean, it's cool just to see his evolution now. He's made it into the Czech Republic team. Czech Republic, for those of you that have forgotten, did win the Hearthstone Global Games in the first year of its being.
Mm-hmm.
So a very prestigious team in that respect.
Yeah, and a very strong-looking team this time around, even down to the little details, where last week they played in Faili's house and this week they're playing in Yala's. That's teamwork.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw, but earlier in the week, Fieli did a tweet longer where he described all of his thoughts and feelings about HGG. And I don't want to go too into it in details because obviously there may be spoilers and stuff in there. But he did say that the fact that Czech Republic won the first year, that's very, very motivational, very inspiring. That made him feel like, you know, he's got to really put the effort in here.
Yeah, I mean, Yala's very proud of it. We see his trophy, the wrong side of his green screen or his background screen every week in GM.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they've been working on complicated matchup tables, meta predictions, lineup comparisons. And he said, imagine my own HS replay. That's what Fairly has supposedly worked on. So
it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. The results he's been around forever, have basically shown that over the last couple of years. Fino on Shark Rogue though is always a treat. Now, I think people are starting to come around to my feeling for HGG anyway, that Shark Rogue isn't the best rogue for this format, but Fino has loved this deck since it was brought out and seems to be able to work absolute magic with it. You can see he's deep in the tank.
Oh, it's a very, very complex deck. I mean, just looking at this hand now, like, what do you do with all these bits and pieces? Shadow Step. Does that come into play this turn? You could Shadow Step the rat and then replay it and then play Evil Miscreant, or you could hold stuff back, play it with Spirit of the Shark. Instead, in what looks like a bizarre turn, he's just played the minion, not even for rush's sake, but to give his Ferrocat one extra attack and then equip the dagger. Like, who would have looked at this board, spent the entire turn thinking about it, and then decided that's the play? Fino, that's who.
Yeah, looking like he's going to try and actually use the Shark Shadow Step later on to do stuff. But
yes,
we shall see. Going wide against Druid is very safe in the early turns. They're too busy ticking up their quests. And just a quick mention to, I don't know, Old Dutchy and a couple of others in chat. Yes, the casting is live today.
Yes. As usual, casters for Hearthstone Global Games are live. Hello, it is Friday. afternoon, 2 o'clock here in the UK. We are live right now, and the games were recorded over the course of the week. We haven't seen them. This is the first time we're seeing them, so it's as if they're live.
And it's taken ages to record it so that we get the exact timing in with chat. We knew who was going to say what at what time, because we're
That's
from
right.
the future.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, Fino holding back on the shark, just going with this wide board again because it's the worst case is you get swiped. First of all, the swipe wouldn't do much, and secondly, it stalls out the Czech Republic's building. And actually, the Rogue's getting into an okay spot here, but it all changes after this turn.
Right, of course. That quest being completed means suddenly Fairly is able to actually do the things, especially with the Innovate and the Nourish and the 2 copies of Starfall in Fairly's hands. So Fino is going to have to do some, a lot of work in order to keep his board alive. Luckily for him, though, Spirit of the Shark has 3 health. Starfall does 2 damage to all minions, including the Spirit of the Shark. So
you can't point it at the shark.
No.
What you can sometimes do is get Loti down first.
Yep.
And just leave it chilling on the board for a while, and then blow everything up that way, because 3's a very key number against Rogue.
And that's always something to be worried about if you're Fino. However, it's not on the board at the moment. It costs 3 mana. Starfall then costs another 5 mana after that. So I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Fino, as his shark would be safe right now, to get on and play it.
Yeah, there is the absolute key. I mean, you play around Starfall anyway, it's the #1 card you're scared of. But there's the absolute giveaway that, yep, it's coming next turn. As they proc the Reborn.
Yep. So again, Shark and potentially step on a rat is an option. I mean, I don't mind. I feel like if he is playing the Shark, he should probably step something so that he can definitely activate that evil miscreant and get as much value out of that Shark as possible. The other thing he might be looking at now is actually how much damage do I have, because Fairly only has 20 health. We've got 7, 8 on the board now, including the dagger. We're not far off of lethal. Is there some sort of a way that Fino can set up this board so that if Fairly does Starfall, he can then follow up with the Leroy Shadow Step lethal play at the
Well, I
turn
mean, you
up?
can play Leroy right now in some situations. Just go Leroy, hit you in the face. If you don't have a taunt, I'm going to hit you in the face again.
Sure.
The healing costs 6 from the side of the Druid, so they have to have Innovate with it or they can't play it.
Whoa! Evolve!
What is happening? I was about to go on a major rant about how this isn't Shaman and therefore the Druid is favoured, but it turns out it is Shaman. And Fino somehow getting that extra 2 attack in as well.
Yeah, I thought he missed it. I honestly thought he missed it. I was going to say that's a really, interesting play because it's got 3 health, but everything else had 2 health. So if Starfall was coming down, it could target the 4/3 and potentially clear the board. But now Starfall is a little more difficult. If it hits the Tundra Rhino, then the 1/4 survives, as well as the Festering Root. And then with Leroy, it's just lethal, isn't it?
I mean, Blink Fox might be lethal because it's a beast, I believe.
Oh, sure, yeah. Blink Fox, Shadow Step, Blink Fox. Deal 6 damage, sure.
So you've got to do something. So whereas we saw in the previous game, Denmark had the luxury of messing around with, not the luxury, but the panic to mess around with nourishes and stuff. Czech Republic have to take evasive action here, I think, and just get rid of what they can.
Oh, does he target the Festering Root with the Starfall or the Tundra Rhino? It's really tricky because, it's going to have to be the Root because you don't expect necessarily the Rogue to have a handful of feasts, but the one relevant feast, as you pointed out, the Blink Fox, it's there alongside Shadow Step. Then again, Leroy is going to be
no!
So who cares?
Maybe it's not a beast, but Fino, that is terrible play. You need to do Shadow Step Blink Foxes here. A massive win there. For Greece, they're taking a 1-0 lead against That's a matchup. It's not favoured. It's one of the reasons that Druid's pretty good in this meta is the Rogue matchup.
Now, that was a quick game. I expect, just given these lineups, a lot of the games this series aren't going to be so quick. Especially as Czech Republic did shield their warrior. So we're going to, let's face it, we're going to be seeing it at some point.
Yeah, on the one side, when you look on the other side, and it's the Shaman and the Priest, and
True.
warrior games don't tend to go 100 turns against that. Rogue games don't go 100 turns against anything than Azoth Rogue because it just loses on turn 4 every time. I hate that deck so much. I'm so mean to. But it just has the aggression of these.
The light shall bring
we are going to get to see it. I know you're looking forward to see this. I saw this last week, and I was very harsh to New Zealand for bringing it, but they did target the warrior, and that is a big deal.
Yeah.
And it works. I mean, it's according to HS Replay. Just to put it, I don't use those stats much, but to put some perspective on it, it is 83% against warrior. That is why you bring the deck. And the New Zealand proved it. They didn't even draw their scheme until very near the bottom of their deck, and they still won. Like, scheme being at the bottom is one of the problems.
All right, I'm gonna just turn to my wonderful notes written by Gallon, who again was incredibly helpful and gave us so much information on this deck. So greatly appreciated, Gallon. But he pointed out that actually it doesn't have a terrible win rate versus Shaman or Priest. It's definitely worse than regular Rogue against those decks, sure, but he's saying it doesn't have a terrible win rate against these decks, because my original perception was that against Shaman, against the Priest, this deck would just be too slow. But as he pointed out, lackeys, obviously they're really good when played offensively, of course they are. But actually, things like Evil Miscreant and all of the lackeys and Vendettas and stuff, they can be played really well defensively as well, just clearing the board over and over again. And once the Rogue does get to position when the Zoth played, etc., it can and keep up with the Rogue.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot in that line of thinking. I do think that some of the reason that decks have bad win rates against this deck is partially because you don't get to play against it much.
Right.
But these decks were given out a day or two before they got to play the matches.
Yeah.
And so you get plenty of time to adjust it. I think that is something... I'm not going to argue with Gallon. Gallon is a superb Hearthstone player, but I do think the win rates are slightly overstated for the Rogue in those equations.
Yeah, I mean, again, he did say specifically that it's not as good as regular Rogue against these decks. But, you know, like, imagine a world in which Kobold Lackey isn't hitting the face, but in fact deals with a minion. Crazy, right? Well, this deck gives us that world.
Yeah. I love watching Fino play. Especially when he's in the zone like he clearly is right now.
Specifically, you like watching his face cam?
No, not specifically. Just in general. I mean, at the moment I'm enjoying watching his face cam, but the way that he can simultaneously portray himself as someone who doesn't care, whilst obviously caring a heck of a lot, is something I admire greatly about him.
Sure. Well, actually brought up the note of Fino caring.
Yep.
I had a very brief chat with him during the week. And I just asked him about his prep. And he said, we didn't prep much, but we had a favourite lineup. So that was it. That's what I got from Fino.
Yeah, you know, he's not a talker about his own ability and his own tournaments, particularly, but
Fairly
there
was
is that
like
desire.
Fairly was like, yeah, check out this twit longer I wrote with all of the information, and also I'm going to tell you this and this and this and this and this. Fino's like, we didn't prep, but we had a good lineup.
Yeah, that's one of the most Fino things to say, I think, that I've ever heard. As we do see the Rogue hanging in there, but you can also see the lack of removal is going to be such a problem. And you can also see that come turn 6, things start getting a heck of a lot more difficult. Pyromancer away from this being the absolute nuts right now. This is the problem the Rogue has. Not just this Rogue, like, it plays very similarly in terms of how it looks, at least, to regular Rogue the first few turns. But if you don't challenge this board, you never get rid of this board. If you do challenge it, you give more cards to the opposition. It's really not where you want to be against Priest.
No, not at all. Cartoon Defender is just a little bit too expensive to be able to play defensively at the moment.
Notice how he's buffing up the Cleric so he can put 2 minions into this Blink Fox to get 2 cards from his Circle of Healing and deal with a Blink Fox.
Yep.
Have a massive Light Ward.
Exactly, yeah.
Did choose there to draw 1 fewer cards, I believe, in favour of keeping more minions going. He could have put a heal onto the 2/6 and then drawn the cards because it's still a bit injured.
Yeah.
But choose to keep the 2 mana available.
Yeah, there were quite a few different things there. Like right at the end, for example, I was looking at the board and thinking, if Fino doesn't want to play any of these cards in his hand, he could actually just heal his opponent's face. Because it buffs at the Light Warden, right? The net damage change is nothing because the face goes up by 2 health, but the Light Warden goes up by 2 attack. But then you've got a Light Warden with 2 more attack. But obviously he wanted to spend the last little bit of mana on the Beaming Sidekick.
Yeah,
but there's a lot to think about with Priest. Oh, for sure, yeah. Unfortunately, Togwaggle Scheme not doing all that much in this matchup.
No, and that's the problem with the Rogue against the aggressive decks. I'm overly harsh on this deck. It's nowhere near as bad as I make out. But you are going to lose a lot of games with this against non-Warrior. And Faley did say in his write-up, yeah, they've targeted Warrior for this round. And again, we saw New Zealand do it to great effect last week. Because you just beat Warrior. And honestly, Warrior is in enough lineups, and again, Czech Republic did their research and thought it would be in even more. It's in enough lineups that it's a good targetable deck. You never want to target the strong decks because they find a way to beat you anyway 1 time out of 3. But if you're targeting Warrior, which is kind of tier 2, tier 3, mediocre 4th deck category, yeah, you can target those.
I mean, if you haven't seen Fairley's twit longer about the team's preparation, to everyone watching, I highly recommend after you finish watching, maybe after you finish watching today, because if you want to avoid spoilers, finish watching the broadcast today, read that because there is so much information on there, both about this week's HGG and also the first 2 weeks. So much detail into their preparation each week, what they expected from each of their different opponents, what the actual outcome was with each of their opponents. Like there is so much info. I have to applaud Fairley for sharing this with everyone.
Yeah, Fairley's just a good Twitter account to follow. There's a good balance between saying what he feels, which some people should never do, and also maintaining a sense of logic and integrity about everything. I really like how he approaches it. And also, people from the Czech Republic, Jarla posted an interview in Czech today on his Twitter. So if you're from the Czech Republic and can actually speak the language, I can barely speak English, let alone other languages. You should go and check that out. It looks like it's quite an extensive interview with Jarla. All
right, well, the scoreline is 2-0. Greece have got the upper hand against the Czech Republic for now, but the series is not over yet. Will Greece get their win with the Shaman, or will Czech Republic make a comeback? Find out after this short break. It's Greece against the Czech Republic. The score is 2-0. And now it is time for Czech Republic to attempt to make their great comeback. They've got N'Zoth Warrior, they've got N'Zoth Rogue, and they've got Druid versus Greece, who only have their token Shaman remaining. Not looking like a great position for Czech Republic, Lorinda.
Really isn't, although we have seen one team come with token Shaman remaining and a win in week 1.
We did,
and we nearly saw it happen again in week 2. And so this can get beaten up. And it shouldn't lose, though. The Shaman, pretty good against Druid. It can definitely win against Warrior. And honestly, against N'Zoth Rogue again, it should get the job done in that one too. But can lose all 3, absolutely. Token Shaman is susceptible, which no one who's ever played ladder will believe me on, but it is susceptible to sometimes getting absolutely horrendous draws that you can do nothing with until turn 5 or 6, and then you're just done.
Yeah. See, I kind of want to agree with you, but then I also, the other half of my brain is like, yeah, but it's Token Shaman. It's the best deck in the game right now.
It is the best deck in the game right now for a reason, is it doesn't get those draws very often. This version of it is playing 1 Haunting Visions, 1 Lightning Storm. I actually really like this build. Okay. Mainly because the 2 Lightning Storms sometimes clutter you up, and the Haunting Visions will sometimes just bail you out with an extra Bloodlust, an extra Evolve, and the combination seems right, even though it makes no actual sense. Mm-hmm. Just the more you play it, the more it feels correct.
Not so great specifically against Druid, though, is it, the Lightning Storm?
No, not at all. It's completely dead. And again, oh, there you go. Just draw the other one then. Oh no, the Lightning Storm is basically there for the mirror, rogue, sometimes hunter, sometimes paladin, but mainly for the mirror. Mm-hmm. But you just don't want to. And sometimes the Haunting Visions can get your Lightning Storm, so it feels okay to take the chance.
So for Fairly, obviously, step 1 is survive until the quest is complete. Can't really do much to influence that. Just gotta hope that Hawkeye doesn't hair and evolve you on turn 3. Step 2 is then get enough armor, get a board presence, you know, prevent the opponent from actually being able to kill you. And with this hand,
this is a huge pickup, believe it or not. They had a really bad looking hand to go wide, but now on this turn they can play a Sludge Slurper and a hero power, and then the next turn they can play the Lackey and another hero power if they want to.
Oh, sure,
and
yeah.
Then they can get themselves into Bloodlust territory. They're still desperate. They really, really need to get themselves to Soul of the Murloc somehow. But you can go wide at will against Druid until turn 5. Bodies on board is the key.
It looks like that is going to have to be what Hawkeye does. And as we were saying, like, essentially, Fairly only has 2 mana to spend next turn. I mean, he doesn't want to spend the 3rd because of the quest. So yeah, 2 mana to spend next turn. I agree. I think Hawkeye putting as much on the board as possible seems like the plan. Lorinda, you mentioned before that Fairly's at Jala's house now, right?
Yeah.
But why are we only seeing Fairly? Do you know?
I don't know. That was in his tweet long they played at Yala's house.
Well,
he doesn't seem to have any sort of mic attached, so Yala might be sitting out the screen.
Yeah, so again, I did manage to squeeze a tiny little bit of extra information out of Fairly in a private conversation. And he said to me that this week, Yala was ill.
Okay.
But we made it work anyway, since I traveled to his place and he could just chill in bed advising me while I played the game.
That's amazing.
That's why it was only me on camera, but Jala's room. So there you go.
Okay.
A little bit of behind the scenes for you. Jala is just off camera, lying in bed, probably coughing into tissues and spluttering everywhere.
That's what I normally do when I play against Token Shaman as well. Must admit, that's a pretty default situation. This looks good to me. You can just play the War Druid and leave it stealth. Then next turn your Starfall does a lot more. It's amazing how many of the hair minions will survive a 2 damage Starfall, but not a 3 damage one.
I don't think that he can do that because Loti...
everything. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and he gets one of the forms, doesn't he? Before the quest is completed. It's not that good, Lorinda. Jeez.
Should be. Yeah, good point. You can't have both forms. You can't stealth it and thing yit. I'm so used to Druid having completed quests.
It's stealth poisonous is one of the options, and I can't remember what stats the spell damage version has, but
doesn't matter. It's not the same. You're quite
stealth.
right.
Yeah.
Opponents aren't presenting a very wide board here, though, so I think you've got time to play the Ferocious Howl.
Oh, this is a great hand for Fairly here with the double Anubis there.
Yeah, and the big part of it is they've got nothing facing them right now.
True. Yep.
Pheno and Hawkeye went a slightly different route to the one I was suggesting. That's because they wanted to have this turn where they make an absolute bucket load of minions. They had 2 draw steps in the meantime to try and find an Evolve or Soul of the Murloc. So this was playing to their outs in the way that they saw it. They didn't think the other boards were going to survive enough anyway. And it's made a big board at exactly the same time and more efficiently than my way.
What to do?
Yeah, you are struggling quite a lot here.
It's so difficult because, like you said, yeah, he wants to make a huge board, but there's no Evolve in the hand. So it is a board that does mostly just die to Starfall. Ragnaros though from the Mutate. Okay, that fixes things. Starfall only deals 7 damage maximum to 1 minion, so Fairly's going to have to Starfall the Thunderhead, and then Ragnaros would survive and deal another 8 damage next turn. So that's really big for Hawkeye.
Yeah, it's going to be irritating as well because they're not going to be able to put taunts in the way very easily. You get that lovely position with Ragnaros where you don't care whether it hits the minion or whether it hits the plate. Sometimes they might end up in that position here.
Ragnaros, arguably the most iconic Hearthstone card. It'll be sad to see it go again.
Oh yeah, absolutely horrible to see it go. I mean, yeah, Falk, I agree. It is an iconic card. I'm glad it's going again though. I'm glad it was back. But picking up that second Starfall made this a lot easier for the Czech Republic now, because they're not getting Soul of the Murloc. You can see the massive difference that the game has taken compared to how when you do get Soul of the Murloc, you cannot force that damage through easily.
Hawkeye must have to start considering playing this Haunted Visions now, just to give him something to do.
Yeah. I mean, he's got the Bloodlust in hand, so that's one thing covered. So yeah, I think you play it and find out what you can get.
Oh, yeah. Excuse
me.
You
might have to take Earthquake here and hope for some sort of swing turn after you play the Earthquake.
Take 7. It costs 7 mana, Lorinda.
I mean, what are they going to do between now and then? Okay, they're going to go for some sort of turn now, but yeah, the argument I was going to make was you're just not building a board in the next 2 or 3 turns. Yep. So, but the Druid just repopulates if you don't do it quickly. So I think this is right.
Yeah, Ragnaros
much as I'd like it not to be.
Yeah, Ragnaros alone just is not enough to do much against this. Well, there's a second Starfall as we can see. There's Wrath, there's Zephyrus, there's Loti. That can just charge in with its poisonous. Like, Fairly has everything he could possibly need. Actually, that Ragnaros hitting the minion, probably not what Hawkeye wanted to see there.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, from where we're sat, we can see that there's a lot of removal for the Czech Republic in hand. I think Greece's only way to victory here is to not have their things traded into, and some miracle where the Czech Republic do not have anything, basically. This is the play I was talking about earlier, honest. This is the minion I see in my dreams.
I'm sure Hawkeye will be seeing it in his dream, well, nightmares after this game.
Note that they attack there just so they get the taunt up. Usually you would leave it stealthed up just to keep having its spell damage on board. But on this occasion, just not wanting to take any risks with any damage to face.
And now this is sort of the problem you were talking about with Shaman. It's like at this stage, what can Hawkeye do? It's similar to the Priest in that when it sort of runs out of Clerics and Pyros and Circle of Healings to repopulate the hand, it's sort of just a load of little bits of junk that don't work very well together. And that's what Hawkeye has at the moment. Without those key ingredients like the Evolve, this is a nothing board and a nothing hand.
Yeah, I think if you look at the board of Shaman versus Druid on turn 6 every single time, You can predict the winner with and the hands, and you can predict the winner with astounding accuracy. It all happens on turns 5 and 6. When you get to this point, the druid just almost always overwhelms the shaman, unless they're on 3 health or something, which they're just not. And then maybe you can, get a sneaky haunting vision into, I don't know, lava burst or something. But and now you've got this decision. You can't really play your hair because it's going to get blown up. But if you don't play it, you can't. Yeah, it's just grim. Pretty sure that if Fino was on the end of this in streaming or on ladder, he'd just be saying, "Why is this guy still in my game?" Because this is over. Again, they can't see the hand. They've got to play it as if Czech Republic just have absolute garbage. But Druid, everything in its hand removes your things.
It's 5 wisps, I promise. Actually, even if it was 5 wisps, it might actually get worse.
So that's going to look like step 1 of 3 for Czech Republic out of the way in this Shaman reverse sweep attempt. We have seen it once. Again, we've seen it come close once or twice as well. Shaman, even though it's the best deck in the game, can still be a bit vulnerable at times.
I mean, I'm not going to argue that it's not possible, but it's a hard thing to try to achieve, especially as again the remaining decks. I mean, I guess the warrior is pretty good against shaman, but that rogue is a big point of contention, I feel.
Yeah. Just trying to work out how you could ever win this with an evolve next turn. This is where you need Nathan, that's Admirable Zamora on the team, who can work out every single evolve in a millisecond that could possibly win you this game. First of all, you've got to draw evolve though, and they didn't. What do you even try and do here? So really very little plan here. There's no point just lobbing the hare and the Mogu out there. They're not going to do anything, so you just got to hope you don't die somehow in the next 2 turns. But you're so dead. Draw evolve and just get the best evolve setup you could imagine, and then you're probably still dead because 3-4 drops and an 8 drop is unlikely to be enough. And Czech Republic are just going to kill you in those 2 turns anyway, lightning storm or otherwise. And this is a very Yala turn. We always poke him slightly about being so slow. Like, no one cares what you pick this turn, Czech Republic. Just kill your opponents. Sets up double swipe. Sets up a lot of things. And nothing has been drawn at all. 3, 2-1. I don't even end the score. Having a look at the bracket where this stands, the winners will be playing Denmark for a spot in that top 8. A top 8 that will be played with the new set, Descent of Dragons, coming out on December the 10th. And the lower bracket, Romania, lying in wake there for what looks like it's going to be the Czech Republic, but they're going to have a thing or two to say about that with their N'Zoth Warrior, giving them a strong chance to get to 2-2. And then the N'Zoth Rogue, which I will terminally laugh at because I enjoy doing that. I do understand that the best players in the world know more about the N'Zoth Rogue than I do. So, Czech Republic just hanging on the edge. Again, because it's double elimination, they won't be too terrified just yet. Fino and Greece did look like one of the stronger teams, and so did Czech Republic last time around. And I'm just going to have a look through who the other teams are to remind you all of who is in this week's event. Chinese Taipei, Argentina. And let's have a look at this group that has kindly been flashed on the screen for me. Mexico, Chinese Taipei, Argentina, and Hong Kong. We will be showing that group later in the day after the conclusion of Group D. We also have France, who I'm always a bit rude to, but they would beat me up if I didn't show them. Anyway, enough waffling. We are able to bring you game number 4 Phaley and Hawkeye, and it is going to be N'Zoth Warrior. Shaman has one major hope when playing against the Warrior, and that major hope is to make a wide board of Soul of the Murlocs, and then it kind of cuts down the brawl. You don't keep it in your opening hand because you want to get it from your Frog. You want to make a wide board first and foremost, then Soul of the Murlocs it. You can only do that by actually having minions to play. They do have another hope where the opponent just doesn't have the brawl or the removal, but they usually find a way with Plague of Wrath to clear your board on turn 6. The armor's irritating. It means that you can't often just bloodlust them straight into the ground, which means that you have to take it steady but not too steady. But no Frog is not a place you want to be in. It's weird on ladder at the moment, actually, because if you face a Warrior, you shouldn't, at most levels, mulligan for N'Zoth unless you're top 200 or so. You should be mulliganing for the very aggressive Warrior build, which is getting a lot more play than this Warrior build is. But in HGG, the deck lists are open. They don't need to worry about such silliness as hitting your opponent with a Warrior. Why would you hit someone with a Warrior? In fact, you need to worry about making your own board wide. So there's the Soul of the Murlocs, but there's nothing yet really to go with it. The biggest way they're going to be able to make a board is going to be with the Thunderhead and maybe the Zap, the Mogu at some point in the future. But for the time being, this is just buying much needed time for the Warrior. You can see those double mummies, the Warpath, the Ziliacs, the Brawl. This is a difficult one to lose for the Czech Republic, because there's no pressure being exerted on them all the way up to this turn. Working out exactly which second to press the armor up button. Bring a point of damage onto the healing totem. Which is always interesting when you do that, but it stops the lackey from buffing it and trading it in. Would be my argument. Very, very specific set of cases needed where it would actually matter, but it's a thing that can happen. So you're looking to overload very shortly, probably on turn 6 to overload, play a load of sparks or whatever those things are called that Thunderhead produces, and then Soul of the Murloc that lot up, and then you're looking to have Bloodlust magically appear in your hand the turn after and slap the Warrior for mid-20s amounts of damage. So with that all in mind, I'd be looking to play the Lickim this turn. You're a little bit scared of giving it away to Harrison, I think. Just quickly draw up the deck lists. But you can play it the next turn, delay that one more turn if you want, if you're going to go for the overload strategy. Yeah, there is a Harris in the Czech Republic deck. Possibly that's a factor involved here. And now the act of removing everything commences.
I wonder.
Bit weird when you're playing Control Warrior against the Shaman deck, because you're playing around every card in all of Hearthstone. So there will be good reasons this isn't going into the face. For instance, if you give this healing totem +2 in some way, it will die to both minions. Right, it's go time now. So for instance, if you were to lick him for 1 here, and then lackey up your 0-1 and turn it to a 1-2 with rush, it would now actually die rather than otherwise. Bit of a corner case, but the point of damage to face is also very corner case. You don't beat this deck by damage to face, you beat this deck by removing their minions. So you take the corner case that sometimes will put 1 fewer minions on the board for your opponent.
There is little time. What to do?
They're now going to go for the Thunderhead turn right here. without the Soul of the Murloc backup. This means they're going to be able to play their Mogu Evolve, though. Which for some reason I hadn't even seen in their hand the entire game, which is also kind of embarrassing.
Hello, Lorinda.
Oh, who's this guy?
I figured I'd just let you solo cast for a bit. I know how much you
Hearing
enjoy
voices in my head.
it. Yeah, no, just gonna cut and say it. My internet just went down, and I've been running around frantically resetting routers and trying to fix it, and it finally came back. So here I am. Sorry about that, Lorinda.
You missed a pretty interesting game, actually. Greece
Oh.
taking this very slowly. They had a chance to build a big board in one go playing around Brawl, but instead they've managed to get into this situation where if the Czech Republic didn't have mummies and Ziliacs and stuff in their hand, which they do, they would have been able to go for a crazy turn next turn with Soul of the Murlocs and Evolve on the same turn. And I think this is a very good play indeed here by Greece. But as it stands, it looks like the Czech Republic just have enough removal to iron it all out.
Yeah, I mean, obviously trying to catch up here, just looking at this board. Hawkeye does have some pretty good resources available, but it's gonna take some time for him to deliver that killing blow. And like you said, there's a lot of removal in Fairly's hand. Does that second Sea Giant make a difference? Maybe? Double Warpath and Brawl is hard to get past.
It really is. I've also been enjoying watching this healing totem get hit for one every turn, just in case of Goblin Lackey. It's been entertaining me greatly. Because you just don't need the damage as the warrior. You're going to win the game or not based on other things than damage for the first 25 turns. Well, this needs to be spectacular. They played for the turn right from the start, and that is not spectacular. That is rubbish.
That is a 6-3. That is what that is.
Yeah, totally useless 6-3 as well.
Yikes.
And the evolves can be pretty bad on both numbers. Sometimes you get Harik the Bat, which is obviously horrendous, but Aviana is the curse of the deck.
Right. Yeah, I mean there are some great results, especially on 8, and there are some terrible results. But no, this was, well, let's just say this was not a great result. Now, Double Sea Giant and Cobalt Lackey is all that Hawkeye has available, and Bailey has every possible way of answering things. Soul of the Murloc is entirely useless against Warpath.
Yeah, they have really got it to do to come back from 34 here. And looks like we're going to see the deck that you love, Fal.
I don't remember ever saying I love it, Lorinda. I don't know where this is all coming from.
I heard you say you loved it.
I love how much Galen has helped me know what to say.
Yeah, that's always nice that people help you what to say. On the other side of the coin, I have to cast with Daruk.
Oh. That's never fun.
And down to very little to do here. I think you've got to... You can't even kill it. You've got to hair Soul and start trying to get Sea Giants down. Try and get a couple of whacks in with a Sea Giant. They are quite hard to remove. We can see again that there's the Brawl, but yeah, they're even going for the not bother to Soul it. Just get that damage in quickly, just in case the hand is poor for the warrior.
Which, I mean, this board is kind of annoying, I guess. Can't shield slam the giant. You have to like trade whirlwind armor up shield slam or something. Reckless Mummy is obviously a very tasty option.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, he can deal with it. At the end of the day, he can deal with it, and that is what matters here.
Quite a long, lengthy conversation going here between Failure and Yala.
No.
I said it last week. I would love to have an afternoon's Hearthstone with a lot of these people, but Yala in particular. I would Really love to know the intricate thought processes he goes through each and every turn for the most micro of decisions. Because it works for him. It makes massive good results for him.
Absolutely.
But positions here where someone like myself might get a bit lazy and say, well, it just doesn't matter what you do. Whilst that attitude is actually not far off correct, it's going to cost me games. I would love to know all the bits and pieces Yala goes through for his amazing resource management.
Oh, this hand is just a bunch of 1/1s. And a solitary 8/8.
Yeah. Going as wide as they dare with the Sea Giants. If this board gets dealt with, they do have the Hair Soul backup to make some sort of board.
That's
you
not really
can't
a board,
kill the
though,
warrior, but well,
that's
it's the
not really a
bloodlust.
board. Yeah.
If you can get the warrior down using a Sea Giant, then set up a bloodlust turn with a Hair Soul.
Great. That's what, 12 damage?
Their warpath. Yeah. You've got to connect once or twice with this Sea Giant, or none of it is relevant.
Yeah. No, jokes aside, you know, with Plague of Wrath there really is no scenario that the Sea Giant lives, is there? I was going to say, jokes aside, it might win the brawl, but no. It's gone.
So now they're down to Plan Z, or Z, as our American colleagues would say.
Is that concede?
No, it's Stormbringer.
Plan Z is have 1 extra mana so that you can actually play these cards. I guess Hair, Hero Power, plus Soul of the Murloc means that you probably get a decent Stormbringer next turn. He's already seen 1 Warpath played.
Yeah. It's a tough call.
How do you win without doing that? I guess you do it next
You just
turn.
go Hair, Hair, Stormbringer next turn, and you've still got 2 souls for some strange things. You have seen the Plague. I think I'm erring on the side of waiting a turn here and guaranteeing it.
So the potential benefit of doing it now is that you get maybe 1 extra legendary minion by doing it the other way. Is that worth it? Probably not. You're right. Oh, this also.
That's nice.
Sort of guarantees 1 extra legendary minion.
The game's not going long enough for both of these souls to matter, so you... Oh, they're going to go for this. I preferred waiting because there's a chance in some worlds where the legendary minions can look after themselves. But if you get Warpath now, again, it's hard with Castle Vision. They have already seen a Warpath go.
That's really interesting. The potential play there of just playing Soul of the Murloc on the spell damage totem. Fascinating idea.
Yeah, I actually wouldn't have minded that because then you almost always get the 1 extra minion. But you're in your rights to believe that maybe the warrior doesn't have a way to respond to this.
Well, again, we've seen 1 Warpath played already. We've seen a Whirlwind even. So the amount of things that deal with this, I mean, it's pretty much Dynamatic or the second Warpath, right?
Yes.
So it's definitely possible.
Dynamatic doesn't really do it, so here they go. And that's one of the... Poor Yala, I pick on him so much. But that's one of the really hard things about playing against Yala is that long wait. Makes you start to think against a normal human being that they haven't got the warpath. But the punishment still comes. If in doubt with your snip snaps, 1 of each is usually the way forwards. That's exactly where they're going with this.
A very awkwardly shaped board, and now Hawkeye has the potential of 1 legendary minion this turn.
So, given that 1 legendary minion never is going to work, do you Thunderhead Soul Hero Power here? And try and... Or do you...
Soul.
Because you're never going to be able to Thunderhead... Oh, you might draw Zap. You could wait a turn. Then Thunderhead Zap and Stormbringer. I mean, none of it's fun, right? This is basically over, but...
To me, waiting a turn feels particularly unfun.
Waiting a turn against control decks is always unfun. Very true.
What legendary minion could be so good that just 1 would do the trick?
Exactly. That's why I think they've got... Even though this is absolutely undesirable, you've kind of got to try and get more than 1.
Hey, Ysera wouldn't have been bad.
Sure.
Wouldn't have been great.
Most of them don't even survive the board.
That's the thing, yeah.
So
That's
you
the
need
problem.
more than one for that to work. I mean, they're absolutely snookered here right now.
Let's stash that away.
Wouldn't mind Yogg-Saron on. Press that hero power, steal one of your opponent's minions, it gets gained at random, gains +1 attack and 1 health. That's what it does, right, Yogg?
Just pyroblast my own face 10 times.
Oh, I'm thinking of Battlegrounds, Yogg.
Yogg-Saron. Watching it make decisions for people around the world and doing a very good job of it.
Okay, well now we can make 2 legendary minions, Lorinda. We can hero power, we can play Mogu, then we can play the Stormbringer.
Yeah, and I think you've got to go for that. You're dead in 2 turns, so if you wait another turn now, which is what you want to keep doing, you don't even survive to the point where you get them. So you've just got to go for, I don't know. I don't know. Double Baron, get him.
Honestly, Battlegrounds has broken my brain. I'm hoping for Death Coilers here. They're not in the game.
The snake.
Yeah, exactly. No, a couple 5-0 is probably not going to do the job though.
I never actually knew that card had a name other than Sneck, by the way. I had to work it out when you said it. And predictably, the legendaries just aren't going to get this done.
No, exactly. A bunch of 5-5s just aren't going to cut it. 6 health remaining for Hawkeye, and a 7-7 hits the board. Fairly doesn't care about the ability at all. It's literally a case of, you don't beat this board, you're dead next turn.
Yeah, it needs to be good. Mutate into Explodey Man, who explodes and kills both heroes and all the minions at the same time. New card coming soon. It's not a card. So they don't get a chance to mutate into Explodey Man, and this one is Dunzo.
You win this
Well, there
2-2.
you go. 2-2 is the score. Thought for a second I'd lost the internet again, but it looks like I think we're fine. You can hear me, right? We're good? Okay. Lorinda?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, we're good, right? 2-2 is the score. Czech Republic have begun their amazing comeback, and now it all comes down to what is apparently, according to Lorinda, my favorite deck. I don't know where that came from, but I guess I'll go along with it. It's down to the N'Zoth Rogue against the Shaman. Scary matchup for the Rogue, I think.
Yep, it's playing against not Warrior, therefore it's a scary matchup.
for Doomhammer.
Yeah, I've got to stop the joke about N'Zoth Rogue. It serves a very specific purpose. It's a very good one. It just happens to be one that I'm not comfortable with in general. It does make a lot of sense to bring it here. And again, New Zealand showed what a great choice it was last week when your opponent does bring Warrior. However, that's a Mogu and a Desert Hare. That's a Frog, an Evolve, or half the deck away from just being game over. Not keeping the Phantom Knives is interesting to me, but the point being your opponent's not going to play into it anyway, so you don't need it. And they're going to try to hold on to the board. Let's see how they go about it.
It's so Hawkeye's hand is so close to being just absurd, right? You just
Now it's there. You go.
Okay,
Now
we
it's
got that. So how do you sequence that? Just coin out a hair on 2? No, you probably just
You
slam
save the coin till at least 3.
Yeah,
The
Just play
question
a
is, do you want to be mega greedy and
That's
play a
what I'm
hair
wondering.
on 3
yeah,
and just leave it sitting there,
and then play the
rabbiting
second
around?
Yeah. Oh!
But now you just don't need to care about anything.
So turn 3 is hair, coin, evolve. Turn 4 is hair, hopefully Mogu, evolve, right?
Yeah, that looks likely. The other way probably wouldn't have worked because you'd be facing into a Blink Fox and such like. They are actually tempted to just point it out now. But that ruins your turn 4 play. I like this a lot more.
Yeah. Fairly, yeah. Has the Blink Fox that you mentioned. Now picks up a Pharaoh Cat. A little bit late for that now, but let's see what the Blink Fox picks up. Okay. Sandstorm Elemental isn't bad against this deck, actually.
Yeah, it's a very good job that Greece didn't try and get super mega greedy here. Because they would have been punished and sad about...
Well, they'd have coined it out that turn, right? And then only one of them would have been destroyed, and then they just follow
Sure.
up. Unless they then followed up with the second hair.
Yeah, they're
In
not
that
going to do
case-
that one, I don't think. No
in
one
that
is a
case-
fan in the opposing deck.
That's true, that's true, that's true. Alright, here we go. Number 1.
And unlike against Druid, it doesn't matter too much how bad these are as long as they're not Twilight Drakes. Whereas against Druid that would have been fine too. But against Druid sometimes you roll the 2 health minions.
Ooh, that backstab pickup's really nice. Now you can backstab the 4/3 and play Sandstorm Elemental to clear up most of the board. Blink Fox can deal with the Dark Iron Dwarf, and that just leaves the 3/2 Amalgam Generator card there.
Yeah, and you can see how easy it is to lose this matchup. Like, joking aside, if they had an Edwin right now in their hand, for instance, stuff would start going a bit crazy. Because the Shaman struggles to deal with Edwins. Quite often have to Bloodlust it down. But more natural plays will be made here. They can clear up a large chunk of this.
So many.
Obviously,
Yep.
they've got to do it all again next turn is the thing they don't realise.
Sure.
From the Czech Republic point of view here, they are sitting pretty nicely now.
Yes, that is true on both accounts. Like Hawkeye, probably not too bothered about this, especially as Mogu is playable next turn as well, is it?
No on top
No,
of
no.
the, on top
Ooh.
of the Evolve. It's slightly annoying, but they do have this leftover 4-drop to turn into an even bigger thing.
Well, is there any world in which you don't play the second hair this turn and just start clearing things up and sort of wait until you can play the Mogu as well? Because getting an 8-drop with this Evolve really does tilt the power to obscene levels.
Yeah, you've definitely got to think about maybe playing Vicina and going for Hair Mogu Evolve next turn. But you've also got to work out how much the Czech Republic spent there clearing up the board you had, which was not that huge an amount. The Sandstorm Elemental did a lot of work. So definitely not a straightforward call. If your Licking was active, I think you'd be very, very tempted just to play that and the 2-drop and try and draw loads more minions.
There is little time.
Whatever Fino's saying, I don't think Hawkeye agrees. Yeah,
We know
going for
from
the
watching. We know from
proper
watching.
Sorry.
Yes, exactly. Holding back on it, trying to get the Mogu in as well. Yeah, we know from watching Greece play in previous years, they do get very, very animated with each other. And although I think Hawkeye was a member of the team previously, if I'm not mistaken.
I can't remember if I'm honest, but Hawkeye has been a prominent member of
Yeah.
the Greek community for a long time. I mean, Fino wasn't in the first HCG team. I
No, that's
remember.
right.
They used to
But
hang out with him and he used to tell them how to play Hearthstone. That's very rude. They were very good.
But I but I remember previously like players like, you know, Deathalore, right?
Yeah.
And, they were very, very animated when they had their discussions. And that's something we've always seen from Greece.
Yeah,
Passionate.
Deathalore is one of the more calm members of the team as well in general. And yeah, like you say, he's reasonably animated himself. Like Sibu and Barmanus, whose name I can never say, and I've gone beyond caring that I can't say. He's hopefully accepted my lack of understanding of words by now. Always have a lot to say about the game.
Trying to dig through my notes and find out who the team were in the first year. I'm interested now.
Oh my goodness, it is the second Mogu.
Oh wow, look at the reward for holding back.
Yeah, now they can just play them both and have an absolutely obscene Evolve.
Waters are so
and pick up some bits and pieces along the way.
Job's done.
Card Door Man, Tree Man, Octo Man, and some big health minions. That looks pretty good.
Octoman is particularly interesting.
Yeah, it's really useful. But the tree dude, whose name I never remember, is also kind of interesting. But yeah, 8 more cards. Yes, please.
Greece in the first year was Like a Boss, Logan, Sabuki, and Deathalore.
So many.
Sorry, can you go through that again?
No.
Sibu, Deathalore.
Yes, Like a Boss, Cebu, Deathalore, Like a Boss, and oh no, I've just closed it. Who's the other one?
Like a
Logan,
Boss was
Logan.
insane. Logan's lovely as well, and also insane. So yeah, very lively team indeed.
I wonder.
Like a Boss.
I'll choose soon.
Have you ever managed to
How-
revive your Lucenbart, by the way, when you're playing this deck?
No, I was talking to Sottle about this a while back, I think, or he was
Yeah,
saying it in our Discord, possibly. And he was saying that he's managed it with a healing totem once, lost the game, but still felt like it was worth it.
I got it to 3 heals, and then my opponent MCT'd my healing totem, and I was really upset. But I did win the game, unlike Sottle, so that's much better.
Actually, he may have won the game. Maybe I made up the fact he lost. I don't remember.
Yeah, it
Ooh.
doesn't sound like Sottle admitting to losing a Hearthstone game.
Yeah, and it probably shouldn't be something I should do as a caster to admit that Sottle lost at anything, because
Yeah, exactly.
he'll come.
That's the end of your career.
He'll come for me.
He will, definitely. So they can make space. They can play the Slurper here. They're trying to work out what they could possibly draw that, because they've board locked themselves temporarily. But there's really no worries here, I don't think.
Yeah, well, they can trade the 3/3 in if they need to make space to play something. Hero Lackey. Yeah, they don't mind burning one card too much. The question is, what can Fairly do to come back onto this board? Because this is looking like
Blink Fox into something that's better than Brawl.
Earthquake would be too expensive. Fan Knives into Sap. And, oh, this is so hard.
I wonder.
Oh no! What could it be like? Lightning Storm. That's the best thing, right? Shadowwalk. No,
Yeah.
that's not gonna do it.
I'm just staring at the board while you're going through the options. And
Alright.
it's all over. Greece go through group final. Czech Republic going to have to take their chance in the lower bracket.
Amazing. I mean, huge congratulations to Greece. That was. It looked like they were going to be reverse swept there. On the Shaman, it really did, but they managed to find that win eventually. I think it's particularly disappointing when you do get reverse swept with you using what is widely considered the best deck in the game. So it's good that they.
People love to see it. Shaman
Oh
getting
yeah,
punched around is so pleasant.
absolutely. Well, that is the end of the second series today, as we have seen. Greece have qualified into the winners' finals. They're going to be facing up against Denmark next. And that's not next as in the one after next. No, I mean next is going to be Greece versus Denmark. Sorry, Darren. So don't go anywhere. We're only 2 games into the Hearthstone Global Games this week. We've got plenty more to come. We'll see you soon.